Hiya, Richard. Hello! I should have yours then.
We're more than 2 metres apart. So we've snuck into the salon today. As you can see, we are socially distancing. And we wanted to basically come together, have a chat a little bit about what we're doing salon-wise. And really, we're listening to a lot of noise out in the in social media and in certain groups of salons that are talking to each other. And we're just getting a little bit concerned that people are starting to panic a little bit and listening to some of the kind of industry gurus who are talking about what people should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing, what they're planning for. And I think you've got quite, when I spoke to you about this last week, it was a bit of a kind of, well, we all need to calm down a little bit because we can't really plan for anything at the moment because we don't know what's going to happen, do we, Chris?
That's right. I'm thinking that I've been a bit reluctant to put myself forward to have an opinion because unless you've got facts of when you're going back, what you should be doing, how you should be doing it, I think it's all speculation.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much opinions out there at the moment, I think it's not a good time to add another opinion to it. Until you know the facts, I don't think it's worth spending too much time on working on the small detail of what's going to be done when you get back. Because we don't know when we're going back, we don't know the facts. And so I think I'm a bit concerned when I see people spending so much time on this, when there's so many other things they could be focused on. And so that's why I'm a little bit reluctant to put my opinion into the hat at the moment. That doesn't mean that I'm not thinking about some of the details, what need to be thought about, and take on board some of the conversations that are being had. But at the moment, I tend to keep my own thoughts to myself and plan it in my own mind what needs to be done. And I have done quite a bit of work on the rotas at work and imagine to myself, if we do go back, how could this pan out? But really, until we hear more facts, then I'm not going to sort of put it out to my staff too much. And one of the reasons for that, when I've spoken to my team on Zoom conference meetings and things like that, because I think it's important to keep in touch with them, one of the reasons why I don't go into too much detail with them is that when we do get closer to the date, and then I start to tell them this is how it's going to be, this is the system that we're going to use, they remember some of the things that you've already spoken about prior to that, and it gets a bit confusing. Well, I thought we was going to do this, and I thought we was going to do that, and you're going to, no, that was spoken about earlier, that was. We changed that, and then all of a sudden you've got confusion. So you've got to be careful that you're not throwing about too many systems, and then when it does come to it, too many people have got too many different systems in their mind, and there's a bit of confusion over it.
It's quite interesting, I think. I think it was quite interesting. We did a Zoom call with our team last Friday. Yours was the same day, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did coincide.
And that was quite interesting from the point of view that when just before we shut, they were quite panicky and nervous and worried for the future. And I think actually they've got quite comfortable at home. Well, I mean, because their salary is guaranteed, they're not really spending money, so all the uncertainty was taken away from them. So they were like, well, I can spend time at home. The weather was beautiful for the first few weeks. Everything seems, I'm financially okay, everything looks like it's normal. I'm just riding this out, and it's quite a nice thing, really. So we were going to have our team meeting at the usual time, 9 o'clock. That didn't go down well. So we moved it to 10 o'clock, and I'm sure a quarter of them were still in bed. Did it from their beds, because why would they get up? So you're a bit like, well, and it's quick, it shows how quickly sort of their habits can kind of change. And so the call was really, as you said, it wasn't really about sort of giving them detailed plans of what we were going to do, for the same reason that you just said, that we haven't really got any concrete plans in place, but it was getting them to think about how their hours are going to work. And really it was addressing the potential what we call being 3 seconds in front, which is the potential choices that we're going to have to make, or even the potential challenges they're going to have about potentially childcare if the schools aren't back, etc. And also preparing them from the fact that we're going to be very busy, I think, for the first, sort of 4 to 6 weeks potentially. And during that time, we may need to, and probably will have to, increase the salon hours because of, providing social distancing in the salon, etc. We've heard a little bit that it's quite tiring to work and all the cleaning and things like that. So different way of working, and so I think we're looking at it from a sort of piecemeal perspective. So rather than saying this is what the future is going to look like, we're saying this is what the next 4 to 6 weeks could look like, and then we'll kind of review it where it is. Yes. But don't think about your normal rotas in terms of these are the hours that I work. We might need to change those and adapt those moving forward. We've got their well-being at heart, but also that potentially going into sort of the last quarter 3 and quarter 4 of the year, that we don't know what's going to happen with the economy, and there could be a challenge economic wise to salons. And we want to make sure we look after our clients, so we might have to do quite a few more hours over the next coming weeks when we do reopen, but that will settle down moving forward, and we need to bear all those things in mind really. So these aren't the concrete plans, but this is our thought process kind of moving forward. That's the way we looked at it.
Yeah, it's similar to ours, because what I was talking to them about is not so much about how we're going to work with our clients. That's the small detail of that. We didn't even touch on that to a certain extent. But what we did say is that training, for instance, we have 7 assistants and we have a trainer who is solely employed just to train them. But one of the decisions would be that there won't be any training, and there won't be any training for at least 6, 7, maybe 8 weeks. And so the trainer will be doing consultations, she'll be doing fringe trims, she'll be doing things like that. She won't have a column, but she'll be dealing with people who have had their hair box coloured at home, or whatever they've had at home. Reception will go in a week before, and they will do certain consultations on the phone with clients as well, asking certain questions, and then if there's any question marks on that client, then they will be booked in for a consultation with the trainer, and then she will decide how to book the appointment thereon. But we don't want our stylists' time to be wasted on having an appointment, they turn up, and then the stylist goes, well, I can't do that, or they haven't got booked in long enough, and then you're wasting appointments after appointments. And so it's a bigger system like that we're talking about, rather than the small detail.
Yeah.
And so I think our time is better spent there than the other areas where everybody seems to be obsessed with talking about
the mechanics, how it's all going to break it down, where I'm going to get PPE from, are we expect to be doing this? And I think you can get to, they're important factors, but at this moment in time, you can't do anything about that, to be fair. So there's not, as you said, there's no point worrying about it. I think you have to prepare the team, as you said, for their hours. I think we're going to do the same about bringing our front of house team back in beforehand, again, to make sure that the clients who are booked in, as you said, aren't going to be a wasted appointment by, well, I put a box style on it. Well, now you've got to restrict that, and then you think, well, I haven't got time, and you're into all of that. So I've prepared a MailChimp e-blast that will go out, which I've been doing quite a lot of those, which, again, it's been quite difficult because you want to engage with the clients, but apart from obviously this is how to trim your own fringe and those type of things, but everyone's doing that. It's more about sort of saying, this is where we're at, this is as much as we can do at the moment, we're getting prepared for this, and it's just keeping that regular contact with them. But the one I prepared yesterday, which hasn't gone out or go out today, is very much about, this is the potential way the world's going to look, which will be probably increased appointment times, change of hours, longer opening hours, all these different things, increase obviously in our hygiene and our washing, laundry, all those type of. I'm really starting to see that the next one after this will be about how the prices will operate moving forward, because I think we're very mindful of the fact that we've got a big hole in our bank balance from being shut for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're not going to recover that money, but at the same time we've got to prepare ourselves for the fact that we're moving forward. We have to have the business in a good enough position to sort of say, the world that you left here, we're going to provide the same level of service as best we can. We're going to still be as enthusiastic about your hair. We're going to be as, all the things that we've done in terms of the client journey, that will vary a little bit, obviously, because the way the world works. But the economics has changed.
Absolutely.
And because the economics have changed moving forward, I've heard certain salons that are talking about having a hygiene cost. I don't really like the idea of that because potentially if you put the prices up, you might need to probably have to keep them there for the foreseeable, because until there's a vaccine, you just don't know. So,
Absolutely.
As I said, I don't think you can make long-term plans, but we're definitely going to have to increase the prices and I've told the team that as well, because we need to protect them and we need to protect the business. And in some respects, what I said to them at the end of this kind of Zoom conference call, which is really good to be fair, was we're almost in the same position as the government in that we've got the best, we've got the health and well-being of our team and our clients that's what we're looking for, and make sure they're safe and they're well and they're looked after and all of those sorts of things. But at the same time, we've got to balance the economy and balance the economy of the salon, because we have to make sure the salon's here for the long term.
Well, you can imagine that when we go back, and because of all the restrictions, whatever they are, it means that we're not going possibly to be able to do in many salons, because not all salons are large salons. The great thing about large salons is you've got space and you can do more people, but there is going to be a massive difference to the turnover of what a salon will be able to achieve when we get back. Now, you're still going to, when you operate and when you open up, you're still going to have, once you've opened up, a certain amount of costs, but your turnover is going to be reduced or possibly reduced.
No, I think it's going to be reduced.
So you've got to find out what your break-even is. So this is the time to go back and start doing your figures on possible scenarios on, if we can't do a turnover of X amount, what is our break-even? How much do I need to do to be able to pay the fixed costs? And then you've got your stylist's wages on top of that, but you've got to start looking at your figures again. So that time that we're wasting on the small detail of where you're going to put the hand wash and this, that and the other, really, there is a bigger picture to this that we need to be focused on more. And that is, if our turnover is down, what is our break-even? What do we need to be turning over? Because what we can fall into is being focused on being busy, but being a busy fool. And if you're busy, but you're not breaking even, because you didn't spend enough time thinking about the financial side of it, then you could be in trouble, not when you open, but a little bit further down the line when you've got two lots of bills. You've got the bills that you had before you closed down, and then you've got your new bills when you opened up, but your turnover has gone down. And so you're not breaking even, or possibly not breaking even, and you're not generating enough money to pay these two lots of bills. Or even if you've taken some loans on board now, again, there's a lot to think about here. And so you need to share your time, spend into a few different areas.
Well, as we've always advocated the need to understand the numbers. That you haven't got to learn to run Tesco, as you always say, but you have to know what you're doing.
Yes.
And I think, as you said, if you're going to extend appointment times, which is something we're open, then we can't just add that time and factor onto the client and increase the bills to that level. But we are going to have to factor in what that average is going to look like. I mean, we obviously, the average bill is something we talk about all the time, but that might reduce. Well, actually, hopefully the average bill won't reduce, but the number of clients might reduce, which affects the turnover. So it's okay to increase the average bill. If you haven't got a good average bill and you're going to do less clients, then the turnover is going to drop dramatically.
And it's again, on what you've just said, every business will be different.
Yeah.
Large salons may be able to cope with it differently to small salons. Everyone's different, so you've got to start thinking for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think you can't take information from outside and just run with it, because one size does not fit all, but there are some fundamentals that do fit everybody. That is, are you paying the wages correctly? Yeah. Do you know your break-even, average bill? All these things. It doesn't matter if you're a big salon or a small business or a large business or whatever, those are the things that do fit into every business. But you've got to take on this information and be able to look at your own business and make decisions based on what you think is right and wrong for your business, rather than what Joe Bloggs said down the road, oh, I'll do that, that's a good idea. It might not fit your business.
No.
And so that we need to start being like a leader and thinking like a leader, and take the information on by all means, but you need to analyse it and look at it to see if it works for you. If it doesn't, then you need to reinvent something else and get it to work for you. But the fundamentals are very important at this stage.
And also, yeah, definitely. And also I think the other important thing is you can't let emotion get in the way of making what are fundamental decisions on things moving forward. An example would be, you know, a client walking back in and they've got a regrowth, and normally they have a retouch, but the retouch now is probably going to be almost like a full colour. The ends will have faded out. These are the clients who haven't been messing around with their hair, and then suddenly they've got, I don't know, an inch and a half or 2 inches of regrowth, as opposed, you know, are you going to charge them for that, or are you going to charge, or are you going to try to, because it's not their fault, I'm going to try and do a bit of a, I'll do it, I won't charge you, we'll kind of get you back on track. And you're thinking, they're the sort of decisions that, if people start making decisions like that on emotion, then that's where you've got to really have a problem, because you've got to replenish that stock that you're using, and then you haven't got that client who maybe isn't going to come in as frequently moving forward. And as you said, I think if you look at all the predictions of the economy moving forward, and that's why I'm really mindful of these, because I think at the first part of this it was about getting through the crisis, getting through the lockdown, and then we'll all get back to normal. But I think all the noise that's coming out of the economists and these sorts of people are saying you're not going to bounce back to normal. John Lewis are closing stores, airlines won't be able to fly, pubs, restaurants. There's going to be an economic impact that we don't even know about yet, and you can listen to the kind of people who are being a little bit more optimistic about that, and the ones who are very pessimistic, but either way they're saying there's going to be a problem. So we've got to look at our business moving forward and saying, how's that going to look? And that's why I don't think you can make a long-term decision on what you're going to do. I think you have to break it, chunk it down. This is my first steps when we come back, and we have to see how the business operates. You know, you might find that staff have to go back off if there could be a second peak. There's lots of things that are uncertainties around that, and that's why I think anyone that's, as you said, who's taken advice and listening to someone offering pearls of wisdom is to, I would take, one of the interesting things, if they haven't got a salon, it's very easy to give advice. This is what you should be doing, these are the ideas. But we're sitting in my salon today, it's a very real thing. This salon should be, you know, what day is it today? Lost track, Tuesday. Should be busy today. No one in here, it's been empty for weeks. I've got to get this salon back on track. It isn't a case of open the doors, well back to normal. I've got a huge gap in our cash flow for this year, and that cash flow, we still have costs coming out for that period of time, even though we haven't had income coming in. That's going to cause a secondary wave moving forward into the second half of the year, and I think we have to be really mindful of that. But alongside that, that's the economics. We've got to build confidence in our clients, so when they come in, they do feel safe, and our team feels safe. So it's a real fine balance at the moment. We have to look at how our own psychology is working, and how we work with our team to get them back on track and up to speed with dealing with these clients moving forward.
There is also another side of the coin where I think that already we've mentioned the Zoom conference meetings that we have with our own team. This is something that we've never done before, and it's something that we will always use in the future. I think it's been fantastic from that point of view. Being able to communicate with your team face to face on a Zoom or a Skype or whatever you want to use, but this is the way that we will go forward in the future. And I think we always have team meetings every other week or every week sometimes at work, and that means closing the salon down. And we tend to do it in the middle of the day at 12 till 1, and it could be on a Thursday or it's on a Tuesday when most of the staff are there. And so we close the salon down, we all sit down, have a meeting. The cost of that meeting, if you calculated it with all those people sitting there, so the meeting has to be worth something because it's costing you a lot of
Probably,
money.
I bet it's a couple of grand.
Absolutely. So the turnover that you might be losing and the amount of wages that you're paying out just for that meeting. Well, the Zoom conference calls means that you're able to have meetings now with every member connected, because you've got people on holiday, people sick, people who are not there, people, all the
And
people who don't work.
So you can record it and send it out. So they
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are coming out of this that I think we'll be using this and we'll be changing the way that we run our business in the future, because we've needed to. And I think this technology as well, there's lots of things technology-wise that's moving forward. That
So
we'll
I
be
think
able to
one of
use.
the things that's a great point. I think one of the things I think what might potentially happen is there's a lot of people who won't be going back doing that commute anymore. I mean, people have got used to working at home, haven't they? I mean, white-collar workers really haven't been in, and they've had to adapt to that. And there's a lot of them saying, well, I'm not going to get on a train to London, I'm not going to get on a tube, I'm not going to get on the bus, I'm not going to do these things anymore. I can work from home, maybe go in once a week to have a catch-up meeting with people if they need to, but actually I can work remotely. And as you said, they're going to be around. You can set the salon up so they can come and work in the salon whilst having their hair done. So it could change the dynamic of how you balance out how busy the salon is at different times. It might take the pressure off the weekends or later the week and do things like that. So I think, although there is it's a challenge, a very, very challenging time and a huge amount of uncertainty, but there's opportunity.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And I've got to say that size isn't everything. Within a salon, no, concentrate, focus, Chris. Size isn't everything within a business, but it does help when you're trying to be the best in the area.
Yeah.
Because you've got to have a presence. But I do think as well that if you're looking in the future, there's going to be units available, and there's going to be some bargains to be had. And I just bring you into what I'm talking about there is that my salon is on the edge is on the high street, and it's not the greatest high street in the world, but it's not a bad high street. But I've got to say, we were paying £51,000 rent there and nearly £17,000 rates there a couple of years ago. The rent has gone down from 51 to 37.5, and the rates have gone. And that's because we're on the high street, and it's better to be on the high street now, because your story is different. You're not on the high street, you're in a different area to the high street, and your rents have still gone up because you're not on the high street.
Wow.
So if you're looking for a unit, there's going to be lots of units.
Cheers for that. No rent.
You're still very competitive on price. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I used to be very smug in the fact that our rent was so much lower than yours, and now they're on an equal footing, to be fair, pretty much. And as you said, there's opportunities out there, and I think it's. We do say it, and I've said this a lot over the years, because we've had crises when we've lost salons in the past in other financial crashes. All breakthrough does come through from crisis.
Yes.
You can't see it in the moment, but I think there will be breakthrough from this. It might be a breakthrough for the industry. I think it's going to be a little bit of breakthrough for society without getting too deep into that. But in the industry, I think there will be breakthrough. I think there'll be salons that will think, I've got me 10 grand or me 25 grand, I might knock it on the head and take a step away because I don't know. I haven't felt looked after. I think there's going to be a lot of self-employed stylists who are sitting there, because I saw a report or an article this morning in the Daily Mirror that said mobile hairdressers are having to go back out already and work because they haven't got any money coming in. You know, and when the government does open again, I think they're going to have to. I think they're going to do something with the VAT, and I think they're definitely going to do something with national insurance and tax, which is what the Chancellor's already said. And I think they'll take away some of the financial benefits, loopholes that you get with self-employment. And if they do that, then there's no point to it. You want to be in a salon where you've been looked after. My team, you've got self-employed stylists sitting there earning no income at the moment, and we've got both our teams just sitting home, sleeping in bed till 10 o'clock and happy as, you know.
Well, for somebody like myself, who didn't used to like figures, didn't like figures at all because I'm not very good at them, Not to say that I don't know my figures, but I'm all figures now. And if you really look at it in the future, if you're not turning over a certain amount, then you're not going to be able to pay people to work for you.
No.
And you're not going to pay yourself a proper wage. Because once this has gone out of the way, you've got another wave of problems. And the biggest problem that's going to come from a country's point of view, not just the debt that we're going to have, you've got the pension problem then. Now that is something that everybody, again, will be involved in. Because if you're not doing a big enough turnover, how are you going to put money into a pension that needs to be put in quite as early as possible if that's the way that you're going to pay for your retirement in the future? You're going to have some idea of, you're going to have some money somewhere, some assets somewhere that you're going to be able to draw on when you come to the end of your working career. And that comes back down to figures today. You've got to learn your figures. And if I was going to give advice on people today running a business, before this crisis, we do courses on pricing, wages, structured pricing, promotion criteria and all those type of things. Break even, average bill. I think that's where people's focus should be.
Yeah.
And if I was going to talk about winning ways, business education, this is going to be a turning point for winning ways.
Yeah.
Because technology is going to help us to be able to deliver this information to people much easier, where we've been doing it in the past, going around the country, doing conferences and meetings and doing courses. A lot of our courses can be done on the internet.
Yeah, in a more piecemeal fashion, to be fair.
Yeah. And because this information needs to get over pretty quick, and I don't think people can wait for us to do our journey around till we get there. They need it now. So I think that we will be working from a winning ways point of view very closely.
Well, I think we'll come back to people very, very quickly on the first one. Will be about pricing, to be fair, because that's a really urgent one, I think. I think getting the numbers right, well, all of them, to be honest.
Well, I was going to say, we've been doing some work on this, and I think that there are certain things that you need to understand before you can even take on. But they're only short things, but you do need to get the way that you think about it can help these people. Is that we'll put out a set of courses and videos so that people can tune in, watch them, but they do need to get this information, like I say, quite quick. So keep watching, keep listening, and keep looking out for Winning Ways courses coming very soon.
Yeah, you follow us on our social media. I know we've been a bit slow to get this thing working, but we are on Instagram, we're on Facebook now. So if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and we'll be starting to let you know where you'll be able to access some of these resources as we begin to film them. And also we're looking at the potential of also doing online courses as well, working with some one-to-one coaching. So lots of different areas where we can get access to you as quickly as possible, so that you can get some answers for your salons as soon as possible as we head into getting back to work over the next few weeks.
So stay safe, stay happy.
Take care, bye-bye.
He'll reach deep into the